How to finance your feature film, part 2. I'm going to start off with the most important thing that you need to finance your feature film, which is going to be the script. And that foundation is something that I think can be annoying because you hear it a lot. Story is king, or story is queen, or some story is some part of royalty. But it is absolutely the truth, and it's the truth in more than one way. Not only does the strength of the script, the how compelling the script is, how funny the script is, how moving the script is, how well written the script is, not only is that extremely important in the foundation of moving your project forward, but the actual content of the script in terms of the genre it is, what the story is talking about, and how those elements work in the marketplace. So, for example, my film that I am financing now is a horror film, and the number of actors, the number of locations, the number of main characters, the genre itself, and the tone of the script all add to what kind of business the script can do. Who are the main characters, and how would those main characters or actors that will play those main characters operate in the field along with the actual strength of the writing. Now, before we start talking about money, here's what you have to understand about the strength of the writing. As someone whose job mostly is to curate scripts for studios, production companies, writers, and nonprofit organizations that support writers, most people, I would say 87% of people whose script I read think it's at least good. And 85% of those people, their script is not even close. Not even close. So here's what you need to understand. You, as a writer, have to have enough curatory eye and mind and language to understand what's working, what's not working, in general, across the board in anybody's script, and be able to turn that power, that magnifying glass, onto your own script to be able to understand what needs help or reach out for help to get your script to where it needs to be operating at a high level. Because what I try to explain to a lot of writers is that you're not competing against 100% of people in the field, because 100% of the people in the field aren't ready. You're more likely competing against like 5 to 7%, because those are the scripts that are ready, really. Out of everything that's floating out there, 5 to 7% are the scripts that are ready. I'm not going to say that bad scripts won't get made. I'm going to say those are scripts that are actually ready. And that small margin is really who you're competing with. So it's really not that much competition when you think about it. You just need to get to that 5 to 7% with your script. That's the base level foundation of getting your movie made and financed. Obviously, I work one-on-one with screenwriters to help get their scripts there. I am very honest, not brutal, that's not the point, but I am honest. So if that's something that you're ready for, you can handle it. You can find my services at AtlantaFilmProject.com. I am shifting my business model. I'm going to do less and less one-on-one, so now's the time to do it. But regardless if you work with me, if you work with anybody, or if you get any feedback on your script and it's ready to go, then that's when you move on to the money part, and let's talk about assembling your team. When it comes to the financing part, I like to think about that even before I start writing a word, in terms of what I want to make out of this next movie, what kind of life I want this movie to have. And I base my script on that. So for my film, Late Bloomers, as opposed to just going to the page and writing the thing that I just felt like I had to write, I looked around and was like, okay, what kind of films are doing business? What kind of money are they making? And what kind of genre of films are going to be profitable for a first-time feature film director like me, operating at a small budget, because that's likely what a first-time filmmaker can get, and still do great business and then move on to the next project. So I looked around and I was like, okay, it makes more sense for me to be in the genre space and write a horror film with a small cast, but a elevated concept, so that it can do well because that's what I studied and saw do well in the market. I looked at the budgets of those projects, which is a budget that I felt like I could raise based on my experience and lack of experience, and then how much money those films were making continuously. And audiences continue to see those films without having to have big stars attached, because that's not what I felt like I could afford based on what I felt like I could raise based on where I was in my career. So all of that goes into deciding what kind of movie you're going to make, and then writing that movie, starting from the end, and then making those decisions for what you're going to do in the beginning. Now that I decided what kind of story is going to give me the best shot and written that story, and it's really, I've taken it through the ringer and it's really well done, it's solid. Now I need to start assembling a team, the talent at the very least that's going to prove that I have enough experience around me if I don't have the experience. And the reason why I'm explaining it this way, because a lot of filmmakers are at other places in their career, and this is not a process that they need to go through. Most of my followers, most of you guys are first-time filmmakers or trying to figure it out to do this for the very first time. And because of that, this is the, I don't want to say lowest hanging fruit, but closest hanging fruit to what you have access to usually. Surrounding yourself with experienced producers, which is probably that next step of talent that you need to get after the script is solid, is going to be based on the strength of the script. So that is the next piece of talent that you want to try and get, because that experienced producer is going to have context that you don't have, and they're going to have already gone through a process that elevates the confidence in you to be able to direct or sell as a writer or whatever, because of the experience that they have, the confidence that somebody has that they will be able to take a script from beginning to end, as opposed to you being able to take it from beginning to end. Even though you could, that's not the point. The point is the experience and level of confidence that investors and companies are going to have in your team. A lot of people talk about the money being the hardest part, but finding the right partners, I think, is one of the more challenging parts. Yes, it's based on the strength of your script. Yes, it's based on your vision as the writer, director, or both. And so this includes a certain amount of research, finding films that are similar to yours, and then reaching out to producers who have made those films or are emerging or part of that zeitgeist or looking to make those kind of projects, which ultimately it boils down to relationships. The producer of my film is someone I've had a relationship with for years, and the strength of that relationship, the strength of the script, the strength of my talent is what brought that producer onto my project and then elevated the package of the project. You want to make sure that your project is a company that is available to sell. So that's what a film is. A film is a company. And you need to have all of your paperwork for your company to be viable. The next thing that I did was got an attorney. Attorneys are not cheap, and I didn't have a ton of money in the bank, so I had to work to be able to afford to engage that attorney, someone who was going to be beneficial for my project, who had experience, more experience than me, and was going to be able to represent me well. And that was really important, because when it was time to go out to investors, I had a waterfall to show them. I had a package that was strong, and all the business entities and paperwork that I needed to show that we were a legit project going to market. Now, I don't see the actual fundraising part as the most difficult part, but I do see it as perhaps the part that you have the less control over, particularly how much time it's going to take. So that can be an emotional roller coaster, and that's something that I think you should be prepared for. There's a million ways to actually bring the money in terms of structurally, how you structurally bring the money in. I probably need to do a much longer YouTube video to break down all the different structures, but here's the most important thing you need to know, and sort of the shortest version of it, is that there's multiple different types of money. You need to do your research on the different types of money in terms of the types of debt, the types of cash, the types of I'm running out of time. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to make another part, but what I want you to research between now and the time I make another part is understanding the different types of money, different categories of money that fund films. And I'll be back.